Hi, I'm Donna Fields and welcome to CLIL Helping Hand Webinar Short 3. It's a series of webinars designed to give you some ideas on how to change over to student-centered learning. At the end of each webinar, I'm going to share some scaffolding techniques that you can find in my book, 101 Scaffolding Techniques for Language Teaching and Learning. It's always also been translated into Spanish. And remember that scaffolding is simply helping students transition into new material more fluidly and to learn the material more deeply. Today we're going to talk about using textbooks in the student-centered classroom and how to use scaffolding technique number 20. Are we ready? So the objective for this session is, and remember we always want to share our objectives with our students and co-create them with our students whenever possible. It helps them feel more seen, more involved, and more empowered. And today it's to show how textbook work can be more collaborative and verbal, more as a tool for active learning. Now, you see on the screen Bloom's taxonomy of lower and higher order thinking skills. You may be familiar with it. If you are, wonderful. If not, I'll just explain briefly that most of our textbooks really only deal with lower order thinking skills, remembering and understanding, which means that the information is isolated. If we want our students to be competitive in this technological world, we need them to think the way machines don't think and hopefully are never going to be able to think. And that's linking things together, linking information together and being more analytic. So how can we do this? Let's start with a lower primary textbook. This is similar to what you probably have in your textbooks, and the students are going to be asked very direct questions. What are the differences in the two images? Name some items that you see, etc. Let's make this as a tool for active learning and analytic thinking. For instance, what are examples of diversity in this picture? Now I hear gasps everywhere. We can't use the word diversity in a lower primary classroom. And I say, yes, we can. We're going to do a webinar in academic language. For the meantime, just believe. If you use the word and you explain the word, they will understand it and be able to use it. So they'll talk to their partner about what diversity see in the picture. Then you can ask them, what kind of children are not represented in this picture? Again, a whole different take on analytic thinking. What games do you see in the picture? Very straightforward, but what about what games don't you see in the picture? Now, let's go into an upper primary class, a textbook on history. We have images. This seems very familiar to you, and the questions are going to be written and very straightforward. Let's make it more active. So, in their groups, they can take turns using these sentences and putting them in the past simple, in the future simple, in the first, second, or third conditional, for instance. So you can have big crowds wave goodbye to mission to Mars. In the past simple, big crowds waved goodbye to mission to Mars. And in the future simple, big crowds will wave goodbye to mission to Mars. And then they put it in first, second, or third conditional. Very simple, but at least they're using the information and they feel like they're learning this language for a reason. They're learning the information for a reason. And the last one that we'll share today is simply reading. So many students unfortunately don't like to read, but the best way to learn a language and to assimilate the vocabulary are through stories. So I do this with many of my students who don't like to read. It seems silly, but it works really well. In pairs, they take turns reading either every other word, every other sentence, or every other paragraph. So for instance, I'm working with my partner and I say ayago. My partner says was, I say unhappy. My partner says he, I say was, and we go on like that until we finish the page. And then you can say, all right, now summarize it verbally and in written form, because they'll be having fun, but they may not understand what they read. But it gets them excited about their learning, it lowers their anxiety level, and it really does get them into reading and understanding the language. So that was my tip today for making textbooks tools for verbal and active learning. Let's go into scaffolding technique number 20. Now this is for a simple reading book. You'll think that it's so easy, the students are going to have no problem reading the information and answering the questions. But scaffolding is helping our students deepen their learning so that they are competitive with the machines in their future professional lives. No matter how young they are, we need to start them off early, being analytic and critical thinkers. So what do? We take the information from the book, we put the images on little mini cards, we put the sentences and paragraphs on little mini cards, and then we mix them up. And our students have to match the images to the information. And then you can say put them in the past, put them in the future, whatever you want to do so that they're interacting with the material even more. And so that was my scaffolding tip for today. Let's do formative assessments. It's feedback time, and I'd love you to please write to my Facebook or LinkedIn page and tell me, today I learned. I was surprised by. One thing I'm not sure about is try this with your students as well, and you'll see how much they've absorbed of your lesson on that day. So, today's objective for the session was to show how textbook work can be collaborative and verbal. Next time, we're going to do classroom management tips for a more autonomous learning environment. All you super teachers out there, thank you so much for joining, and I look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. Bye, everyone.